Hi, everyone. How are you? Happy Thursday. So I think we need to talk about what part of your health and wellness journey are you doing out of guilt or fear? And we've really got to identify this. And if it helps to get a piece of paper and a pen, grab it. But hopefully this is a good little lunchtime live for you on what are you doing out of guilt or fear. There is a healthy fear, right? So if your doctor has said, hey, you are pre-diabetic, or hey, your weight is in the, morbidly obese section or obese section, and I get it. I've been there. But it is a really good time today, tomorrow, to really assess what are you doing with your health and wellness journey out of guilt or fear. So you guys know I love stories, so here's my little story. I realized, and it took COVID for me to realize this, I realized that I was doing certain workouts, certain styles of workouts out of guilt and fear. Many of you guys know I hit the 104-pound weight loss mark going into bodybuilding competitions. And so in order to go into bodybuilding competitions, clearly you are doing generally 5 days of split body part training. So one day would be an arm day. The next day would be a back day. There's a leg day. There's an ab day. Like all these split body parts. You're doing 5 days of that. And you're generally doing about anywhere from 180 to 200 plus minutes of cardio a week. So it's a lot of working out, right? Beyond that, you don't ever step on the stage unless your food is completely on point, because it's the food that brings you into the conditioning. So for many, many years, 3, 4 maybe, I had continued to do split body part training. When I first moved down to Florida, I started with a new bodybuilder, pro bodybuilder down here to train with her. It started as 3 days. It quickly went to 5 days. Why? Because I was so fearful that if I didn't continue with that, my body would go to crap. But I was doing it out of fear. I was completely doing it out of fear. So those workouts continued, and I whittled down to less days, less than 5 days, but I was still doing certain kinds of workouts based on fear, completely. Some of you guys may take this scenario of like going off plan, and then you feel guilty, so then you go to doing a hard workout. So you're creating this fear or guilt-based situation based on what you ate. Some of you guys are like me, and you're working your butts off with workouts, but to be honest, it's the wrong route to go. And why it took me COVID to figure this out was because obviously all the gyms closed. Everything closed. And in everything closing, and I've told you guys this before, there was a lot of self-reflection as to how I handled my days with COVID and handled my time with work versus personal time. I can tell you now that I've gotten back to, horrifically, the way that I was pre-COVID. And I said to a couple of staff members over the last couple of days, and said to 2 staff members last night, if I continue working the way that I'm working and I'm handling the workload that I'm handling, either I or B. Martha Fit will be dead by the time I'm 50. And that's not too far away. So here is my point. What part of your life right now, your health and wellness journey, are you doing out of guilt? Let me forewarn you, if you are doing this food plan out of guilt, because a mother, a spouse, a friend has said something to you about your weight and you're feeling guilty, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. And if you are here and you can honestly raise your hand, and I hope no one raises their hand to this because it's just a bad situation. If you're raising your hand that you're doing this food plan out of guilt today, or out of guilt for the last 6 months, or guilt over the last year, my sweet friend, my sweet client, I got to tell you, if you're doing this out of guilt, then you are not ready to do it. You're not ready to do it. And I hope no one raises their hand from that. If you're working out because you ate something off of plan yesterday or last weekend, then you're doing that out of guilt or fear. And the longer you keep doing that, the worse your relationship with food will get. Guys, I go through exactly what you guys are going through. And when I go through a hard patch, I often don't get frustrated because I realize that hard patch will, one, teach me something, and two, make me a better coach. Going through COVID, and the reason this really, I knew this, but it really came to the forefront yesterday, and you guys have got to really pay attention to this, was yesterday I was talking on the phone, because it was her birthday, with my bodybuilding coach, the one that I used to go see 5 times a week. And I said to her, she's like, so how are you doing? And I told her, I said, for the first time in my life, I am probably at the best mental wellness state that I've ever been with working out and with my relationship with food. And so we dissected that, and I thought, gosh, I wonder, there probably is people who are here doing the plan because their husband shamed them into it. They're doing it because their mother shamed them into it. There is something that made you feel horrifically bad and guilty. And so you're doing the plan. And if you're doing the plan today because of that, and it's not something you truly want, guys, I really hope no one messages me. But if that's where you are, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. Are you doing this for you? There's a little bit, and I mentioned this at the beginning, there's a healthy guilt to doing something like this. And I've shared with my story before when that piece of paper flew open after the doctor's appointment and I saw those 2 words that I hated, morbidly obese. Oh, you guys, even though I'm 6 foot tall, seeing those words, anyone who's seen those words, and I'm sure there are people here on this page who have seen those words before, that's horrific. And there's shame and guilt that comes from that label. There is. We've all experienced it. A lot of us have experienced it. But if that's why you're starting the food plan, again, it leads, you're paving a road of guilt and this bad relationship with food and this bad relationship with yourself. So really step back today. Are you working out of fear and guilt? And if you are, I want you to stop your workouts. If you're working out today to clear your mind so you're less anxious and you have time for yourself and you use that hour or 30 minutes or 40 minutes or 2 hours to breathe and self-reflect and maybe meditate or pray, whatever your thing is, then you're doing it for the right reason. But if you're continually working out of fear or guilt because of something you're eating, guys, we've all been there and it will not work. It won't work. It won't work. In talking to my bodybuilding coach and in talking to another friend here on this page yesterday, I'm like 6 pounds away from this goal that I literally pulled out of my ass, a number. And I was thinking, okay, so what's it going to take for me to get from where I am today to that number that I pulled out of my butt? And I could probably list the things that it would take me. But then I thought to myself, do I want to sustain that list of things just to lose 6 more pounds? Do I want to sustain that for the rest of my life? And I thought, no, right now I don't, because right now I'm probably in the healthiest headspace with my relationship with food and my relationship with workouts. I don't. And so I really, really want you to think about this today. What are you doing right now out of fear and guilt? Because it won't lead to success. And what are you doing right now that, when it comes to workouts, that you may not want to sustain when you hit that magic number? Because I always say to clients, this is one of my biggest questions. So you get to that magic number. You get to 150, you get to 140, you get to 170, whatever that number is for you. Then what? Then what? Think about that. You get to that magic number and you've busted your ass. Then what? So for some of you, if it's taking you longer to lose just because maybe you're not working out, if you truly hate working out, then why are you working out? Because once you get to that 153 or 155 or whatever that magic number is for you, that you think you're going to love yourself when you get there, are you going to sustain it? I think that's one thing, the whole sustainability piece. The one reason I love our food plans. Of course, there are always variations on this theme. This week we've done Shake Week, and I can tell you guys are loving it. But the core program is sustainable long term. But what are you doing right now to reach a goal? And if you can list 3 or 4 things that you're doing right now to reach a certain number goal that you finally think you're going to love yourself at, ask yourself, are those 3 or 4 things sustainable? And why are you doing those things? Are you doing those things out of guilt and fear? And if you are, I want you to take them off of your plate immediately. Because if you continue doing those 3 or 4 things, let me tell you, dear friend, it will not lead to a lifetime of sustainability, and it will not lead to long-term success. Think about it. P.S. Once you get those 3 or 4 things off your plate that you're doing out of guilt, because you think it's going to propel you to some other place, you're going to feel a whole lot better. You are. Mentally and emotionally, you're going to feel a whole lot better. Love you guys.